Hi friends, Jenna here with a video lesson for you on how to darn socks. It's a funny word, isn't it? Darn. We don't usually hear that. So to darn means to mend or to stitch up the holes. So I don't know about you, but my socks often get holes in them, right where my toes are, stretching at the sock, maybe at the heel of my foot, where my heel lands on the ground as I walk, or inside my shoe. And that's where they wear out the quickest. That'll be the case with most socks. And it's always such a shame because sometimes your favorite, coziest socks get a big hole in them, and then you can't wear them anymore, or one sock gets a hole in it and you have to wear it with a different sock. So it's nice when you can to make some time and mend up the holes that are in them. And all it takes is a few basic supplies, and you can stitch the holes right up and then keep wearing the sock for a while longer. Get some more life out of it. So you could do this for someone you love, who you know is busy and who maybe doesn't have the time. It would be a really nice thing to do for your parents, or your grandparents, or another adult in your family who's busy and who you've noticed has some holes in their socks. You could just ask them to mend them and offer to take care of the hole for them, and then get your hands on that pair of socks. And you could also work on mending your own socks. So as your feet grow, your socks probably get holes in them too, and you could mend those right up. No big deal. So today I've brought a pair of my socks, my holy socks, that are here to show you on. And I've also brought a couple of threads that I thought might match. I'm going to choose the best match of thread here in a minute. I brought a pin cushion with lots of pins in it. I don't need the pins today, but it has lots in there. But I will use this needle, and I chose a needle with a nice big eye in it. So there I've got my needle. And then I also brought a different kind of needle threader. I'll show you how to use that here in just a minute, but this time I'm going to use this threader, the one I have at home, to thread my needle. You could use a needle threader with yours, or you could do it by hand, which is also a possibility. Or you can ask for help. The last thing I brought is a pair of scissors. Any scissors will do just fine, just something that can cut your thread. Okay, so we're all ready to start. I'm going to unravel my pair of socks there and roll them. This one I can see the hole in right away. I remember this hole in this pair of socks. It's one of my very favorite pairs to wear in the winter, but it had this big hole in the heel, and so I stopped wearing them. But today I'm going to stitch it up so that I can wear them again. I have these two colors of thread here, and neither one of them is perfect, but they're both fine. This one's kind of a bit more white, and this one is almost more yellow, but I think that one will be nicer. I'm going to use the slightly yellowish one. And just like I would when I'm sewing a button, I'm going to make my thread as long as my table. Depending on how long your table is, you might not want to have a whole long thread or go longer than this, but about as wide as your arms are spread apart like that. It's a good place to stop. I'm going to use my scissors and cut. If you have practiced with sewing a button, then this will be relatively familiar for you. And if you haven't, then you might like to practice that first. Okay, I have my string. I'm ready to put it through my needle here. I'm going to use the threader. So I'll take it and I'm going to put this little bit of wire through my needle, like so. And then I'll take my thread at the end through just like that, just a little bit. And then I can use the threader to pull it back through. carefully match my ends of thread together, two ends, and then we'll give a little tug, straighten it all out. Alrighty. Now comes the knot. Tie our knot. I like to make a little loop on the table like that. Let's pick the tail through. And my knot went right about there. I'm going to tie once more and try to make a double knot so that my knot will be nice and thick and can grip on the sock. Okay, I have two knots more or less on top of each other. So I put the needle in my hand. It's going to always stay in my hand so I don't lose it mostly, and so no one gets poked. And then I'm going to kind of decide how to stitch the heel. I think if I sew in kind of a straight line across here, that will make it as flat as it can be. I might end up kind of sewing two little lines. Depending on what the hole looks like that you're trying to mend, you might choose to sew it different ways. I think for this one it will work best if I just sew it straight across. So I'm going to start at one side of my hole, and oh, my knot slipped through. When that happens, I know I need to tie it again. So move my and we'll make our knot just a little bit bigger. Sometimes with thread you need to do this. The thread is just so thin, it'll slip right through the fabric. You can keep tying knots until you have a nice strong knot. There it is. Okay, I'll try once more. I'm going to start on the side of the hole. Pull. Ah, that time it held. Now I'm going to make what's called a whip stitch. So I'll come back around to the side that's facing me and I'll push it through again. Each time I sew, I'm going to come from the same side of the fabric, each time pushing away from me. When you sew a button on, you're going up, down, through the button. But when you stitch up a hole, you're mending something, the whip stitch is often more useful, the stitch that goes around and around the side. That will hold the hole closed. So we continue going down the line where I know my hole is, pinching it together as I go, and each time I'm pulling my thread nice and tight so that hole will stay closed. When we're mending something like a sock, we know that it's not going to be exactly like it was when it was new, even after we've mended it. But it will be usable, and with any luck, the person wearing it won't even hardly feel the little line that we've stitched in there to hold the hole closed. And the string is so thin, the thread, and the foot is so tough, usually, that you don't even notice. And so you can just keep wearing the sock that's your favorite, like this one is for me. It's funny, as I do this, I'm actually getting excited to wear these socks again. It's That's why I wore them out in the first place, because I loved them so much. They just matched everything. And so now I'll have them back, and they can be part of my outfits. At the end here, I'm going to tie a knot. So I've reached the end of my hole. Let's see how it's looking. Yeah, so you can see how there's a bit of a line, but I think when I put my foot in there and I stretch it on, I won't even be able to feel this line any more than I can feel the one in the front. So now I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to make a knot at the end to hold the string on tight. So I'll poke my needle through one last time, and then I'm going to hang on to a loop here with my finger, maybe twist it a couple of times. Once there's a little twist in there, I'm going to dive my needle through the hole and pull it down tight. That's going to be the knot. And then that string hangs on and it can't come undone. The last step is to trim my string. I'm going to trim it at the beginning too, where I started, since I had kind of a long bit for my knot. There we go. We've darned the sock. It's mended. I'm looking forward to putting it on. Most socks come in pairs, and often when one wears out, so does the other one. So I'll be busy sewing this one, and you enjoy mending a sock of your own or for someone that you love. Thanks for joining me.